This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Back to the Stephen A. Smith Show, hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show right here. Let me get back to the issues at hand. Talking NBA free agency. Gonna get into a couple of NFL items as well. Tom Brady, Big Roethlisberger, amongst other things. But for the moment, I want to get to my next guest. He used to work here at ESPN for years. He's now working for the New York Times. Outstanding NBA reporter and writer. My buddy for years. I love him dearly. He does a phenomenal job, as always, covering the league. I'm talking about the one and only Marc Stein is on the line with us. What's up, buddy? How you doing, man? How's everything?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. It's always good to talk to you. Let's talk about this latest news. Obviously, Kawhi Leonard made news because he's told the Spurs that he wants to be traded, and L.A. supposedly is the desired destination. Talk to us about what you know, what you've been hearing, and more importantly, why has it come to this with a first-class organization known as the San Antonio Spurs?
Well, look, it's been trending this way all season long. I mean, there's just the relationship has been deteriorating, and I think we saw in the playoffs that when Kawhi Leonard has decided he's going to do all his rehab away from the team and not be with the team, that there's clearly a level of tension there that we frankly haven't seen in San Antonio for as long as any of us can remember. You probably got to go back to the Dennis Rodman days, before Pop. I mean, you just it's been that long. So I don't think it's such a surprise that this is where we are. But look, the Spurs, the whispers you hear out of San Antonio that they have not been directly told this, that Kawhi wants out, and to this point they haven't made him available. So I think we're all whipped up into a frenzy on the outside. But I don't think the Spurs are trading him tomorrow. Let's just put it like that.
Let me ask you this question. If they did decide that Kawhi Leonard had to go because Kawhi Leonard is approaching the last season of his contract and he wants out and they can't lose a player of his magnitude for zero compensation, what's the likelihood that they'd be interested in doing business with the Los Angeles Lakers?
They clearly do not want to do business with the Lakers, but if the Lakers could assemble the best deal, if the Lakers could use their assets to bring in a third team and San Antonio gets the most out of a trade from the Lakers, they would do it. I mean, they're not going to. I just do not believe that they're going to take a stance that says we will absolutely not trade him in the Western Conference. They're going to make the best trade they can make if they have to. But I just think it's going to move a lot slower than we all want it to. Obviously, the Lakers and the Sixers have tons of incentives to try to get a deal done this week or, before free agency starts so they can go to LeBron James and say, we've already got Kawhi, now come with us. But the Spurs aren't looking to move that fast. The Spurs are going to slow play this. And, if they wanted to, they could drag this all the way out until the trade deadline in February if they really want to. Now, the Spurs are typically more proactive than that. But a Kawhi trade in conjunction with the draft, I don't think we're that fortunate.
Marc Stein, writer for the New York Times on the NBA, former NBA analyst right here with ESPN. He's live with yours truly, Stephen A. Smith on ESPN Radio. Mark, talk to me about what level of I don't want to use the word impediment, but for lack of a better word, compromise that Kawhi Leonard or the San Antonio Spurs are in terms of a potential deal being made in light of the fact that he's been injured and he's only played 9 games last year. He's looking for a max deal. Nobody knows if he's healthy.
And yeah, look, I think any team is going to be cautious and obviously want to put him under the full medical microscope. But you've seen just in the last 2-3 days what a stir it's caused, just the possibility that he might be available. The line is going to be out the door, even though he essentially missed all of last season. And sure, everyone's going to have concerns, but he's such a good player. When he's healthy, let's face it, he's the best two-way player in the league when he's healthy. So there is going to be no shortage of teams that want him. If the Spurs say, okay, we realize this can't be fixed, we're gonna move him. But just kind of having watched the Spurs for a long, long time, it's just hard for me to believe that Greg Popovich isn't going to try to make at least one more attempt to get with him face-to-face and see if he can do with Kawhi what he was able to do with LaMarcus Aldridge last summer. The difference is the depths of LaMarcus Aldridge's discontent in San Antonio, that was never known. There were rumbles all last season that he was not thrilled with the situation, but we didn't know he actually demanded a trade until he and Greg Popovich had already patched things up. The Kawhi situation has, the gulf between the sides is far wider than it was in that
And
case.
by the way, Mark, according to what you're hearing, why does that gulf exist? I find it hard to believe that it's just this injury. He does have new representation. It does involve his uncle. They're obviously a bit unorthodox in how they do business compared to what traditional agents do, how they go about doing their business. We know that Buford and Popovich are accustomed to dealing with the traditional agents as opposed to, individuals like his uncle. How much of a factor has that been with all of these problems we've been hearing about?
Yeah, I think it's been a major culture shock for the Spurs. For 20 years, Tim Duncan was there and basically empowered the Spurs to run everything the way they wanted to, and it was 100% buy-in from the superstar. And the reality is that's just not how it is in the NBA. And I wrote about this in March that to me this is going to be remembered as the season that the Greg Popovich Spurs found out what it was like to be a normal NBA team. And we're in an era now where this is the player power era, and superstars have more power than they've ever had. They're flexing it. They're using it. LaMarcus Aldridge wanted to do things on his terms, and Kawhi Leonard wants to do things on his terms. And I think that's something that's difficult for the Spurs to come to grips with. But basically, they're, either they're going to come to some sort of, middle ground with Kawhi where they can figure out how to go forward. But if they don't, then I think they will trade him. And kind of my read has been that the relationship has gone, it's too far sideways to fix. That's just that's just purely my read of it, how I see it just as an observer. But, all the rumbles you've heard out of San Antonio all season long is that Kawhi not happy with the way the injury was initially treated. And clearly he wanted to go outside the organization and get treatment from his own people. And, that's new ground for the Spurs.
Marc Stein from the New York Times right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Let's transition to the Lakers. Because to me, Mark, I don't see anyone under more pressure than Magic Johnson for this upcoming summer. You've got LeBron. He's rumored to be heading to L.A., even though we don't know that for sure, obviously. Paul George, even though you reported last week that, Oklahoma City, if I remember correctly, they're going to back up the brink truck for this man. I'm using that terminology, but they want him. It's going to be very, very difficult for him to leave. And from what you reported, if I recall correctly, and what I'm hearing, it's going to be difficult for Paul George to decide to leave OKC. But still, L.A. supposedly is a desired destination for him. And then you've got Kawhi. When you look at Magic Johnson and the Los Angeles Lakers right now, what kind of position are they in your estimation, for this upcoming season?
I agree with you. It's not, they are under a lot of pressure, and making an impact in free agency and being able to speak to superstar players on a level that most GMs can't. That's why Magic Johnson was brought there. I mean, this is why the Lakers basically turned basketball operations over to him, to get Laker-worthy stars in there to really start this thing, to really start to rebuild this thing, because the Lakers are in the midst of their worst period ever in Los Angeles in terms of how far they've fallen. But look, the Paul George stuff, it gets louder every day, that the Thunder's chances of keeping him are far better than any of us thought when they lost in the first round. And LeBron, certainly no one knows exactly what his intentions are. And I don't think anybody has said the Lakers are a lock to get him. And if the Spurs are not ready to trade Kawhi in the near future, I mean, that's not a pretty picture for Laker fans, and certainly not for Magic Johnson. I don't think there are any guarantees. Now, the Lakers, they're in a great position because it's a market LeBron obviously loves, and they have the ability to create space for LeBron and another star player. So the Lakers are certainly at the forefront of his thinking, but is there a scenario where the Lakers get none of these guys? I think yes.
And my thing is that if that were to happen, then I can't imagine it being more of a killjoy or more disappointing and deflating for Laker Nation and specifically Magic Johnson. Rare in the day, I don't recall any time other than Miami with LeBron James back in 2010 when I broke that story. I don't recall any time where a franchise had an opportunity to get three guys and missed out on all three. And that appears to be the case with Magic Johnson in this situation, Marc Stein. How's he going to handle this?
Well, we do have to say, though, that the Heat had more flexibility. I mean,
That's
Riley
true.
really a masterful job to set the Heat up to bring in Bosh and LeBron.
And Dwayne Wade was already there. There.
So this is more complicated. But yeah, I mean, I think you're exactly right. That I'm sure there's a lot of tension in that Laker front office right now. I don't think. Now, we saw the tweet from Jeannie Buss last week, don't ever underestimate. So do the Lakers maybe know something that we don't? It's mid-June in the NBA. As you know better than me, anything is possible. But I would think the Lakers are on edge right now because, there doesn't seem to be any guarantees.
I'm gonna give you a percentage question. I need you to give me a percentage answer. What's the percentage?
You didn't say there was going to be math.
Are you ready for this? What's the percentage that the Lakers get all three? Kawhi, Paul George, LeBron James, in your estimation?
10 or less. I'm just
10 or less.
I think that's pretty.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe
even less.
All right.
5 or less.
Fine. What about two? As in the two potential free agents that are going to opt out of their contracts in LeBron James and Paul George. What's the percentage that'll happen?
I'll unconvincingly say 50, but I don't, I'm not,
okay.
I don't know that I don't even know that I believe myself.
That's right. And what about the percentage they'll get one of them?
You know what? If they don't get two, I don't think they're getting one. LeBron's not going there alone.
Right.
So 50 would be my max.
Yep. That's exactly why I asked you the question that way. Because this belief that LeBron's just going to show up in L.A., I find it hard to believe that he's going to show up and they don't have anything to come with him. That's what I don't do that. Now, by the way, we've been talking L.A. so much. If LeBron, we got L.A. in the equation, what's the biggest threat to L.A. for LeBron to end elsewhere? What's the team that they got to watch out for?
As we've kind of gotten away from the finals, I've heard some people suggest that maybe Cleveland still has more life in this thing than we all assume. Now, in Game 4, we were both in the arena. That felt like goodbye. It felt like the last night. It felt like there was no way that the Cavs could even think about trying to keep him. But, I don't know, because none of these situations are so slam dunk appealing that I just wonder if the Cavs have, they're still in the game here. But we're trying to step into LeBron's head, and that's really hard to do because here's what I do think. The finals ended June 8th, earliest finals end since 1986. LeBron has 3 full weeks to dig into this, work on it, and figuring out. And I just think he's talking to other star players, and there are options on the board that we don't even know about yet. That's really how I feel.
Marc Stein of the New York Times right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Just a couple more questions before I let you go, Marc. We're looking around, and you know what I'm thinking about, Marc? I'm thinking about the class of 2019. I'm thinking about a Klay Thompson. I'm thinking about a Jimmy Butler. I'm thinking about a Kyrie Irving. And we've all heard some of the noise in Boston, whether or not they'll keep Kyrie Irving. In Golden State, they want to re-up with Klay Thompson, but he ain't interested in signing this summer. What do you think is going to happen with players like that for the 2019 class? Do you see them potentially being moved this summer, or do you see those teams standing pat with those respective players and seeing how things play out and letting them play with their respective teams through next season?
No, I don't think the Warriors will do anything. I think they will, they are going to try to keep that core together. It's going to be hugely expensive, but they've got this new arena coming in, and I talked to Joe Lacob about it after the finals, and he expressed great confidence that he can keep his core together, and that he's going to face however pricey that build gets. So I know there's a lot of concern. Draymond Green doesn't want to take another pay cut. Klay Thompson has kind of indicated that he would. I just don't see that core breaking up at all. In Minnesota, I think everything they're doing this summer is to try to get Jimmy Butler and Karl Anthony Towns signed. So any
truth, Mark, to the stories that Karl Anthony Towns isn't too happy in Minnesota?
Not from what I have gathered, but again, I think anything is possible. But to me, from what I've heard, the Wolves' mission is trying to get both of those guys locked up, and that's what their summer is about.
Before I let you get on out of here, who do you expect to be the top 2 or top 3 picks in the NBA draft?
Well, I think number 1's easy. Ayton is pretty much consensus there. After that, it gets crazy. I mean, just today, hearing more and more that Sacramento is really looking strongly at Michael Porter at number 2.
Really? Really?
Yeah.
Michael Porter, Mr. Injury-prone Michael Porter, who thinks he's the second coming of Kevin Durant? That guy?
They're thinking of it. They're thinking about it. I'm not saying they're going to do it, but they're definitely giving it some thought. So 2 through 7 or 8, it's all over. The order is fluid because I think the teams themselves are still trying to figure it out. But I'm a Luka Doncic guy. He's the player I know the most about. I've seen him since he was 17. I'm really high on him. He
Why?
can go as high as 2.
Why are you high on him, Mark? Why are you high on him? I haven't seen him.
Because he's already been doing it against men for years. He has played at the highest levels outside the NBA and not just succeeded. He's flourished. He's won. So people are going to say there are concerns about his athleticism. There are concerns about his shot. The guy won. The guy's been a huge part of a team that won the Eurobasket and a team that won the EuroLeague. Those are the two of the highest levels outside the NBA. And I just think he's the most NBA ready to make an impact. And he's got a great passing eye. He's got good size, which obviously fits well in today's NBA. But he could go 2. He could go 5. Anywhere from 2 to 5, it wouldn't surprise me.
Mark, very last question. Back to L.A. We've heard Lonzo Ball's name come up and potential trade options or what have you. Not that they're real, but people have speculated about it. Nevertheless, why do you think that speculation is taking place? Is it because of his game or because of his daddy?
Yeah, look, I think it's the off-court stuff. He's only been in the league a year. It's way too soon to make evaluations about him. Last year, his shooting motion, it really mirrors the way Kevin Martin's was when Kevin Martin came out of college into the NBA. And Kevin Martin was a consistent 20-point scorer in this league. And I talked about it a lot with Kevin, and he's adamant that his shot will get better with time. It's way too soon to write him off. He's too young. But yes, it's all the off-court baggage. I think it's a hassle. The question is, who's going to trade for him? It's a hassle for the Lakers who have Magic Johnson in place. Are teams in smaller markets and without personalities like that going to be able to handle everything that LeVar Ball brings when your team acquires his son? I don't know.
Gotcha.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that one.
I understand. Mark, appreciate you, buddy. Thanks so much for coming on, man. You take care of yourself. I'll see you down the line.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
All right, buddy. One and only Marc Stein, former NBA insider here, now an NBA writer for the New York Times. He's right here with Stephen A. Back to your calls and more in a minute. It's the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
I'm a one-trick pony, literally. I show up at kids' parties and act cute. That's pretty much it. So excuse me for being bitter when Geico says not only could we save you money on car insurance, but we do more. Like give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or even via our award-winning mobile app. Well, ooh la la, aren't they multi-talented? Hey, I said organic carrots.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more. You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Back to the phones we go at 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Let's go to Derek in Texas. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, Derek.
Hello, Stephen A. Thanks for having me on. I had a quick question. With all of the talk about Paul George and Kawhi Leonard linking up with LeBron in L.A., it seems like LeBron has always been more successful when he's had that alpha dog, that dominant figure on the team, whether it be Kawhi Leonard or D Wade. So I just want to get your thoughts on.
You mean whether it was Kyrie Irving or Dwayne Wade?
Correct, whether Kyrie Irving or Dwayne Wade. So I just want to get your take on maybe him linking up with a guy like DeMarcus Cousins, someone who has that attitude, that alpha dog, someone who can actually deliver.
Stop, Derek. I like DeMarcus Cousins. I really do. He can play. Has he ever played past mid-April?
He has.
He's never been in a playoff game. Ever. How do you know what he can do?
All right, and I agree. But I'm looking at it just from an attitude standpoint. Someone who commands, who another team looked at and says, "I know that guy's not going to take any mess, any crap," because LeBron comes across to a lot of the NBA players as just someone who's a pushover. Although he's dominant, he puts up numbers, he puts up stats. When you look at him, to me, he just doesn't seem like the alpha male.
He might not. You could say he's not the alpha male, but the man's hitting game-winning shots. He's a 3-time champion. He's averaging 27 a night, averaging 40 in the postseason. I'm sorry, bro. I can't side with you on this one. I'm sorry, and I don't view it as DeMarcus Cousins being the answer. But I hear where you're coming from. I appreciate the call. Nick in West Palm, you're live with Stephen A. What's up, Nick?
Hey, Stephen A. First-time caller and long-time listener. I just wanted to get your thoughts on why you think LeBron should be going to L.A. I just don't understand.
I didn't say he should. I didn't say he should per se. I said that would be my personal preference. Me personally, I want him in L.A. or South Beach. If you can't figure out why that is, I don't know what to tell you. That's number one. Number two, I will say this. When you look at LeBron going to L.A., he has the least amount of pressure. He goes anywhere else, he has to win immediately. He goes to L.A., he doesn't have to. Because chances are, no matter who comes with him, unless it's all three of them, it's not going to be good enough to knock off the Warriors or the Houston Rockets. So because of that, that pressure will finally be lifted from his shoulders, and he can sit up there and just chill, play basketball, and see where it takes him. But if you're trying to win a championship immediately, that's clearly not the ideal place to go. There's no denying that, Nick.
I'd much rather see him in Houston with some experienced players. You saw how far they got this year against the Warriors in the conference finals. I just don't see how him playing with a bunch of 3- or 4-year players with guys like Lonzo Ball, who seem to be more focused on their rap career than basketball and all the
I wouldn't accuse Kuzma of that. Lonzo maybe. I wouldn't accuse Kuzma of that. But I would tell you this too. Listen, Golden State has won enough. I'm actually rooting for James Harden and CP3 to win the championship next year. I really would like to see them capture a championship. The way they played, the way everybody went at it, I would love to see that. Me personally, I really, really would. I appreciate the call, Nick. Thank you. Let's go to Tony in San Diego. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Tony?
Hey, Stephen A. Love the show. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you. Go ahead, man.
I just want to get your general thoughts on how you see the AFC and NFC races forming this year in the upcoming NFL season. And in particular, do you have any sense of any of the off-season movements that took place as significantly upgrading a team? I'm thinking the quarterback movements in Washington, getting Alex.
You know what? I got to admit to you. The quarterback movement in Washington it's really nothing to me. I don't see Alex Smith as a significant upgrade to Kirk Cousins. I really don't see it. Alex Smith is more cautious. He's more mistake-free. He takes less chances. And I don't see Washington having that kind of roster. So I would tell you, I'm not down with that. I think that, the year that, Case Keenum had, I think Kirk Cousins in Minnesota, I don't see him doing anything more special than what he did in Washington. I don't see that. The Kansas City Chiefs do have me interested in seeing what Patrick Mahomes brings to the table. I mean, they talk about this brother like he is something special, like he's the second coming. I got to see this kid. I might actually go to Kansas City and watch this kid in the game. I might. My man Travis Kelce and those boys told me it's a sweet wait for me. I don't have to be in that KC cold weather. So if I don't have to be in that cold weather during the game, I might go to the game. I might actually do that. I might do that. But I got to tell you something. I just don't know right now. I really, really don't. I tell you this much too. Everybody's high on the Cowboys, Tony. How you going to lose Des Bryant and don't replace him? What, you going to just give it to Ezekiel Elliott, let him run all day? If I'm each opposing team, I stack the line of scrimmage. And I dare Dak Prescott with a bunch of no-name, unproven wideouts to beat me. That's what I do. That's what I would do. Matt Patricia in Detroit, not sure about him. Yeah, he's going to improve their defense. But Matthew Stafford and those boys still have never won a playoff game. I don't know about him. Aaron Rodgers is returning. Minnesota is formidable. I don't see Detroit coming ahead either of those teams. Julio Jones better get his money in Atlanta. Matt Ryan got his, but what have you done for it? Cam Newton and those boys, we'll see. Drew Brees and New Orleans are the favorites in the South to me. Pittsburgh, Antonio Brown. Look, sign Le'Veon Bell. Get that handled. And Big Ben Roethlisberger, love him. Don't want to hear what he has to say about the future of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Why don't you show us you ready to stay? I don't want to hear any comments from Big Ben Roethlisberger. Only comment I'm interested in hearing from Big Ben Roethlisberger is, I want to play for years to come, and I'm not interested. I'm sorry for all of that waffling that I was doing. Moonwalking in and out of football the way that I was emotionally. I don't want to do that. So y'all ain't got to worry about me talking about that nonsense ever again. I'm going to be here. So I definitely am looking forward to that. I want to hear that from Big Ben Roethlisberger. And speaking of Tom Brady and the New England Patriots, the perpetual favorites in the AFC East, by the way, because there's nobody there that exists. Unless this kid Josh Allen is suddenly some superstar as a rookie that we didn't see coming in Buffalo. Let me say this. Tom Brady spoke to Oprah. Now, we all know this is Oprah we're talking about here. She asked him about retirement and all of this stuff and whether or not he thinks about it. I think about it more than I used to, Brady, who turns 41 in August, instead of retirement. I think I'm seeing that there's definitely an end coming sooner rather than later. Asked if he saw that end coming at, say, age 43 or 45, Brady replied, as long as I'm still loving it, as long as I'm loving the training and preparation and willing to make the commitment. But it's also, I think, what I've alluded to a lot in the Tom versus Time docuseries was there's other things happening in my life, too. I do have kids that I love, and I don't want to be a dad that's not there driving my kids to their games. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the problem with those statements. Is it just me, Nuno? Is it just me, Kat? Is it just me, John? Shouldn't I have heard that before you traded Jimmy Garoppolo? Is it just me? What am I missing here? It would have been nice to hear that before Jimmy Garoppolo got traded. Because chances are you had a conversation with Robert Kraft. Now, I don't know whether that is true or not, but chances are you had a conversation with the man. You told him about your love and your passion for the game of football and how you wanted to play for years to come. And the belief is that Robert Kraft usurped the authority of Bill Belichick, told you Tom Brady ain't going nowhere, and the Jimmy Garoppolo era will not be ignited here. Bill Belichick has to trade Jimmy Garoppolo. If you're Tom Brady, now you say this stuff? See, that's my issue here. That's my issue with this. That's what I find to be so suspect. I'm not trying to make a big deal out of his comments as if he said something so profound. What I'm saying is that I didn't hear none of that when Garoppolo was here. I heard all of that with Oprah over the weekend after Garoppolo had gotten traded. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Back with your calls to close out the show in a minute. You're listening live to Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! Real quick, Will Cain spoke to NBA draft prospect Michael Porter Jr. on his radio show, The Will Cain Show, Friday, I believe. Listen to this kid talk. First things first. He's talking about what he's comfortable with. This is Michael Porter Jr., a star out of high school, once projected to be a top pick in the NBA draft, went to college, I think it was at Missouri, but was injury prone and, barely played, and now he's going to be a first-round pick. But listen to him talk about himself right here. Go ahead.
I'm getting a pretty good sense of teams. They've my medical information, they got it, and they've been there my pro day, so they know what I could do. And I think a lot of teams pretty high feel very comfortable, and I'm feeling great, so I'm getting a good sense, but, I won't know till Thursday night.
Who's showing the most interest in you right now? What teams?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's crazy. Like all those teams are really, really talking a lot about me. And I'm sure there's going to be some trades that go on, so we'll see. But all those teams right at the front are talking a lot to me, thinking that I'd be a great piece for them.
All right. That was he taped an interview with Will Cain earlier today. That interview will air on the Will Cain Show this afternoon on ESPN Radio after 3 p.m. Eastern. Michael Porter Jr. also was asked about where he thought he'd fit in for the NBA. Perfect fit. What's the perfect fit for him? Listen to this response.
I think I'm just going to be an immediate impact guy. Will help, transform a franchise. I feel like I do so many things on the court, and I'm the perfect fit for today's NBA game. And I want to go in there and, be special from the jump. I don't want it to take long for me to be one of the best players in the NBA. And I just think the teams see that reward, but they also are a little concerned with the medical stuff. So, my agent has been great in getting all that medical information figured out.
Enough. I've heard enough. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope this kid ends up being just fine. I haven't seen much of him. It's not for me to judge. I'm assuming he has star potential. If you're a first-round pick, you've got some potential. The man played in only 3 games at Missouri last year. He started 1 game. He played an average of 17 minutes. He averaged 10 points a game. 10 points, 6.7 rebounds. Numbers are not everything, but sometimes they tell a story that you're not telling about yourself. What has he done? Inquiry minds want to know, but I wish him luck. I'm going to look into this kid since he's talking about himself in the same breath as Kevin Durant. I need to do some homework on this kid. 888-SAY-ESPN. That is the number to call up. Let's go to Rob in Connecticut. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Hey, Stephen A. It's Rob. I wanted to get back to your point on football earlier.
Yeah, Brady. Go ahead.
I'm a diehard Pats fan, and I think you hit the nail on the head. They traded away Jimmy G, and now all of a sudden Tom Brady's asking for more money. He's talking about retirement. What's he doing to this team?
Well, I'm not going to accuse him of harming the team or whatever the case may be. He certainly seems to be disregarding Bill Belichick. I mean, Bill Belichick traded Garoppolo for a second-round pick. If Garoppolo was this special and had this much potential, why the hell did you just get a second-round pick for him? You couldn't get more than that? I mean, you couldn't get a couple of second-rounders? You couldn't get a third rounder too? Something? So for me, I guess my whole point is that Bill Belichick clearly believed in Garoppolo, seemed highly reluctant to move him. Tom Brady and Bob Kraft's affection for him and the Patriots' affection for him led them to hold on to him. My point is, after that happens, I don't want to hear from Tom Brady about how he's closer to retirement. Not now. Now is when I want to hear you saying you're going to try to play till you're 45. That's what I want to hear now. I didn't care about hearing that then. I want to hear that now. Because we let go of Jimmy G. We let go of Jimmy Garoppolo. That's all I'm saying. Appreciate the call, man. William in Florida, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
What's up, man? Thanks for taking my call.
Go ahead, buddy.
So I got two questions. So if you let me get through the first one, which will incite you, and the second one, which will
just hurry up, you. Man. I got 2 minutes. Hurry up.
All right.
Go.
Okay. So KD going to the Warriors. Bad news. He joins a powerful team. But why is that different than LeBron trying to find a team that he can play with around the league?
Right now?
Yeah.
Because, number one, he already has 3 rings. And number 2, he's not talking about going to the team that just beat him in the Western Conference Finals.
Understandable. I understand that. I just
No. You asked for 2 questions. Go to your second question because I don't have time to go back and forth with you about this. Go ahead.
You're right. That's fine. Second question is, I've heard you say a lot over the past couple of weeks. I don't want to see Warriors Cleveland. I don't want to see Warriors Cleveland again. What do you want then from the league? Like, do you want them to fix games?
You know what it is? No. Don't be stupid. You know, I don't want them to fix games. What I would tell you is I want the larger markets to be more relevant. I don't want to see 5 teams in New York, LA, and Boston Chicago all be out of the playoffs. I want that something compelling in those markets. That's what my preference is. For LA to have 2 teams, for New York to have 2 teams, for Chicago to have 1 team, and all 5 teams be out of the playoffs looking in. I don't think that's great for basketball. Basketball is great enough to survive it, NBA basketball, but I don't want to see that. I got to get on out of here, but I'll be back in 22 hours from now. Until then, peace and love, everybody. This is Stephen A. signing off.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.